So that was the position. Again, as I said, the word takaful I have already explained. But one more important information that I want to share with you now is this. You see, at that time, the Prime Minister was Dr. Mahathir. We have to present this to him because it was under his government that our team was formed. So I remember,
He became prime minister in 1982, and basically.
yeah, about that.
So he was quite new when
Yeah, he
prime
was
minister.
quite new. Yeah, he was quite new.
Yeah.
So went to see him. I was one of the three of us went to see him. I remember we have to wait outside under the old PM's department somewhere in Kuala Lumpur near Bank Negara there. So we waited for him there. There was a cabinet meeting. And after the cabinet meeting, he came out and we presented to him this report. So in the crux, just I want to share with you, he said, I remember he said that, gentlemen, since you recommended that we should establish this, okay, we will establish it. But make sure 10 years down the road, don't come to me saying that we need more capital because of mismanagement. So I had the opportunity for another occasion later, in 2009 or something like that. I have left the industry anyway. I was retired already. I happened to be an academic fellow with College University Islam Kedah, Queen. Now they call it UNISHAM. And during those days, every year, we had an Islamic, Langkawi Islamic International Forum, something like that. So he was invited to be the key speaker. And for his session, I was given the honor to moderate. So in my remarks, I mentioned to him that, Tone, you may not remember me. I was a very young man at that time. But, I started Takaful, and I remember when we presented the report and your response, your remark that don't come back to me, because I said, Alhamdulillah, Takaful, Syarikat Takaful Malaysia has grown, become a listed company now and doing. And then he was, he was from his profile, I can see that expression happy. That he was very happy. So that's how, the concern. So, but to me at that time it was a challenge. Now, once the Prime Minister said that to you, and then you are given a task, because at that time I was given a task.
At that time, how old were you when you first started?
1984. I was 40.
Still a very young man.
I was 40. I was born 1944, so you know my age now. What do you call? I was 40, and that's how it started. But coming back to your question, why different nomenclature, takaful, Islamic insurance, whatnot? Again, we were lucky because, as you know, the Islamic countries under the IOC, they formed D8, Developing 8. Malaysia is a member. I'm not sure whether the D8 is still in existence today. No, I'm not sure. So in 1998, at one of the D8s, Malaysia was given the task to look into Islamic finance. And I remember Deputy Governor, also a friend from Bank Negara, called me to check with me whether there are any issues that Malaysia can raise this at the D8 forum in Dhaka, in Bangladesh. So I said, my concern is that there seems to be two, terminology. One Islamic insurance, one takaful. When you talk about Islamic insurance, it refers to general operation. When you talk about the takaful, it is the life, Islamic life. Why? Why this confusion? So this was raised to me earlier by a broker from London, international insurance broker in London. It's a big broker, also a friend, And he said, Fadzli, what is this? I don't understand. As a, of course, he's a non-Muslim. Why you have two terms? So then we proposed. I said to the Bank Negara, why not bring this up? As far as Islamic insurance term is concerned, use the terminology takaful, irrespective whether. Then from there on, Alhamdulillah, now There is no more Islamic insurance. All using takaful.
Yeah, but the word family takaful, when I go and do some work overseas, I just like to actually emphasize that, for life insurance, we call it family takaful.
Family takaful.
Takaful keluarga, and emphasize the fact that you are actually providing cover for the family, not for the person.
Correct.
So who thought out of the word family takaful?
It was actually I can't remember exactly. There was a Sharia. There were three of the members were Sharia scholars.
Who were the initial Sharia scholars of Takaful Malaysia?
Unfortunately, all passed away. Yeah?
Oh.
Number one was Professor Ahmad Shabari, and then Professor Dr. Abdullah Ibrahim, and Professor Dr. Rashid Dail. Unfortunately, have
all passed
away. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala may
bless their soul.
Bless their soul. So they have contributed quite a lot.
So it was in an internal discussion that you decided that instead of calling it takaful nyawa or life takaful, which might have some connotations. Why not we call it family takaful?
Because eventually it is going to benefit the family, not the person itself. So I think actually why you call it life? We were discussing. I remember there was a very very intense discussion on the term. So eventually, and then of course, when you translate into English, it's nice. Also, family takaful.
Yes, very nice. Yeah.
So Alhamdulillah, so that's how. So when you go to Indonesia, they got takaful keluarga.
Yeah.
So it happened.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, as I said, I touched on the legal aspect, the law, but on that basis, we must also again bless the soul of Professor Ahmad Ibrahim. He was actually, spearheaded. He's very, very focused in what he wanted to do it. And then at the same time, the Sharia scholars at that time, I remember, one of them, I can't remember exactly who, he uttered a very interesting comment. So that when we do the Islamic way, we must make sure that it is of the best management. Because Islam upholds the best management. So if in the conventional, to ensure the best management in terms of financial management, the principle of actuary, the practice of actuarial principles applied, so it must also be applied to takaful. And then, of course, there is nothing haram, he said. But he said, I said, I understand. I remember I said, I understand it. I'm not an actuary, but again, after discussing with Zainal, I remember I mentioned your name. So there is an element of interest. Then they said, actually, it is just only what you call assumption. It is not. So in order to ensure that it is good management, you assume it's okay.
Assumption.
It's assumption.
As opposed to you actually earning riba.
Yeah. So in that process, I learned a lot.
So the Sharia there was quite well sort of
yes. And I remember when we worked, there was this the army. They call it Nafi now. I can't remember now. Before Nafi.
What's Nafi?
Now Perwira or something like that.
Oh yeah.
The army mess. So we were approached by one of these establishments to cover the assets, the under general. Likewise, some of the hotels in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So they have the Islamic illegal items like alcohol and whatnot. Like even hotel have alcohol and whatnot. So how do we cover? So we put a paper. We discussed thoroughly many times. Not only one meeting. I remember. So then they referred to the old kitabs and whatnot. So the basic idea was that if we do not cover, if because of the fact that one of the items to be covered, one of the assets to be covered is sort of haram, so we cannot reject the whole thing. Then we are depriving the body or the person from having an Islamic insurance system. Likewise, mortgage. When you borrow money to buy a house, property, in a conventional bank, there is a requirement by the bank for that particular person to have an insurance cover.
Yeah.
We call it mortgage. This is, of course, the loan was based on
Conventional,
riba base. Then at first, we cannot cover it. Then we put again the paper we discussed. Then the idea that, I mean, a very basic objective given by the Sharia, allowing is that we are at least allowing a part of the transaction to be based on Islamic.
So it was okay.
It was okay. It was okay. But then in the case of the hotel that I said, then what we do is that they said you can cover all, but then can you segregate the illegal or the haram, and then pass it over to the reinsurance, conventional reinsurance.
Yeah.